What's going on Facebook, YouTube, all my social media outlets? I'm making a quick video on how I got into real estate. The reason why I want to do that is because I get asked this question a pretty good bit. And honestly, just doing what I do for a living, or what I used to do for a living, well, I still do it once a week, is I help people with communication skills, emotional regulation, things of that nature. And a lot of times it comes up as, how do I make a change, or how do I make a decision to do something? So I thought this would be a good video just to make, and it's just kind of about me and how I got here. So let me start off with, I was honestly pretty introverted. So I really had to teach myself to be extrovert just to even get into this field. But naturally I was introverted. And so I always wanted to know why. And so that was even in high school. And so wanting to know the answers to those questions, I wound up getting a bachelor's degree in psychology from the College of Charleston. So I was in Charleston for about 4 years, actually a total of 10. I was only in school for 4 now, but I lived down there for about 10 years. So when I finished my degree there, I was, or actually I should say around my senior year, I decided I wanted to be a psychiatrist. Well, I called my grandparents up and I called my aunt and uncle, who were all doctors. And believe it or not, they had discouraged me from doing that because they were getting sued at the time a pretty good bit. And they had encouraged me to kind of take a different route. So at that point in time, I made a decision after, pretty much almost I'm about to finish my bachelor's degree, which I did. Wound up having a bachelor's in psych. And I was literally like 1 credit shy of having my minor in biology so that I could, go take MCATs and do all that fun stuff and have all the knowledge I needed in order to do that and pass that test. So, long story short, I changed that to nursing and got through school and got through a little bit of the schooling, and catheters got me, couldn't do it, hurt me more than it probably hurt the guy. So got out of that and had a big decision to make at that point in time. And I decided that I was going to go into therapy. So I signed up with USC and started the social work program part-time. Now, mind you, at that time, I was, again, in Charleston. I was working full-time at a mental health facility for adolescents, because that was my thing back then. And I worked with both acute just being, seven, depend on, but 1 to 2 weeks is typically the amount of time we stayed there. And then I had a long-term facility I was at where I worked with children who were in the foster care system. So anyway, so I was doing that while I was going back and forth to USC in Charleston for about 3 years as a part-time program. During that time, I picked up a full-time job working with inpatient facility for alcohol and drug therapy, rehab, and was also working the part-time job and going back and forth. So a lot of stuff I was doing, studying, doing all that fun stuff. And at some point in time, I wound up, once I finished my degree, I kind of cut out the part-time job with adolescents, and I just worked full-time for the rehab center. And actually, I started doing that probably my last year and a half of my master's degree. I was very blessed to that those folks kind of took me on full-time and took me under the wing. I did have to go get some certifications during that time. So, but I really started getting burnt out at the time. I hate to say it, but even as a counselor, as a therapist, you have your own problems, so, and that job was hard. You hear some really brutal stories, as you can probably imagine. People that are getting, or form an addiction to alcohol, drugs, or whatnot. So, started working with families, couples, individuals, especially when I came up here back up to Greenville in 2010. So anyway, so left Charleston, came to Greenville after being gone for about 10 years, saw the growth, saw all that good stuff, and was working on buying another house. Actually got into a program called Drug Court, which is another alcohol and drug facility. We work with the solicitors program, and started doing that part-time. And I worked another job part-time because, let's just be honest, therapy that type of therapy, I was already burnt out, so I didn't really want to get my license, but I had the certifications to do where I could have done a brick and mortar, but long story short is, the burnout continued. So I did that part-time, that worked, and eventually met an agent who helped me with purchasing another property with somebody that I was with, a young lady that I was with at the time, and very nice, very sweet, and I just saw how much she helped us. And by the way, this is my second house I purchased, and I decided that I needed a change in life. And so I really started praying very, very hard about what I should do. And real estate kind of popped up in my mind. Different, it was sales. Again, naturally introverted. I had been working on becoming more extroverted. And so I was really working on my communication skills, being social, getting out, so on and so forth. Talking to strangers, blah, blah, blah. By that time, honestly, I was rocking and rolling with it. Most people, even then, would probably tell you, if I told them I was introverted, they would say, no way. But it's very true. Even to today, I'm introverted. I have to push myself sometimes. But anyways, kind of going back to the story, is I was praying, what I should do, if I should go into real estate, not go into real estate. And I would sometimes, and the way I always coach my clients was, when you're praying for something, make sure after you pray, be on the lookout for it. And so I thought I'd seen some signs, wasn't too sure. And then because sometimes you can just receive a message from a billboard or from somebody saying something over here in a conversation, reading something in a book. Just from therapy, I've seen people change their lives just from one thing I've said, or one thing their partner said, or one thing they heard from grandma, or one thing from a total stranger. Because it's just the way your brain works it's just amazing. I'm not going to get into that because we're talking about how I got here. But maybe another time, maybe a whole nother YouTube channel. But long story short is I was praying, and for some reason, nothing was clicking. I just couldn't figure out. So I asked God, I said, hey, I really need a sign that is just in bold print that I'm going to know it's you no matter what. And so one day I was heading to the gym, a normal routine. And back then we had Sobes. I don't know if you've ever had those, but they came in a little bottle, a plastic bottle. They had energy in them, and I'd drink one every time before I started working out. And so this one day I was heading to the gym, went to the QT, and got the bottle, got the Sobe bottle, and opened up. And back then they had caps, and they all had something written on them. And so again, I've been praying about this, and then hopped in the car, heading to the gym, not really thinking too much of it. But I had prayed that morning. I was like, I really need the sign, and opened up the bottle, and there's a cap under it, and it said, run with it. And so this bottle cap, I'm gonna see if you can see this, but again, like I said, Sobe, that's back in the day. But I saw this cap and it clicked for me. I got into real estate. I started studying before I even started getting to the classes. I started reading about it, started getting into like how marketing worked, what I need to do socially, for example. And, signed up for my classes, and then that was a wrap. That's how I got into it. And it was and I've held on to this bottle cap since early 2011, early to mid 2011, because, I look at this every time I get discouraged, every time I've talked to a client for 2 years, and then all of a sudden I find out they bought a house, or they forgot to call me, or when times, and a lot of agents aren't going to tell you this, but when times get rough, and you're not having the same amount of sales, because I hate to say this to everybody, but we charge what we charge for a reason. It's not always glamorous, and you get a $0 base income. So you are strictly commissioned. So if you sell one house, that's one house. You sell 20 houses, that's 20 houses. You sell 50, you sell 50. If you sell 10, you sell 10. And then you have cuts that you have to give to people. And then you have marketing dollars. So, and all that's what helps the world kind of go around, get people's houses sold. And that's just how it works. But anytime I get down, this is something that I always come back to, because This is what changed my life. So that's my story. And my question for everybody, from anybody out there, is that if you are burnt out, if you are unsure about what you're doing in life or where you're going, I promise you, if you start praying about it, you will get an answer. And don't be scared to ask God to give you a billboard sign. Now, this wasn't a billboard sign, but this was a sign enough to me to give me the audacity, the courage, to jump into it. So whether you're wanting to get into a new career path or you're just not too sure where you're going, just pray about it and see where God wants you to go with it. And he will give you a sign. And again, it's okay to ask for a clear-cut sign. He will give it to you, I promise. But that's how I got into real estate. And that's a little bit about me. And I hope that's helpful to you. I hope that's something that you can take and you can run with it as you go through life. Again, if you have any questions about buying or selling real estate, I'm here for you. I mainly work with residential, so that's land, residential, single family homes, townhomes, building from the ground up. I do all of that. I've even dipped my hands into commercial a little bit when I sold a race car track, which was pretty interesting. So if you are thinking about buying or selling a home, I'd be more than happy to help you out. I've been doing this now close to 15 years, and I can promise you I give you white glove service. If that's what you're looking for integrity, loyalty, communication, and someone that's gonna really work hard for you, then you have the right guy. Again, it's Kevin Wells, North Group Real Estate. It's a pleasure making this video for you. I look forward to working with you or seeing you soon.